Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2006 Winter Tour. Now, while the 2004 and 5 Winter Tours were held in conjunction with the UK Championships, this is the first year that the Winter Tour is a separate championship. So it means Chronic are still the title holders of this particular title. They can try and avenge their loss in the UK Championship by retaining the Winter Tour title. Now, the Winter Tour took place over several venues across the country. We are going to go through the qualifier rounds in highlight fashion, and then we're going to go through the finals as well. Bearing in mind, there really isn't a lot of clips of the Winter Tour this year. I know there was not a lot of the 2004 and 5 Winter Tours, but because they were UK Championships, a decent amount of battles were filmed. There really is not a lot of battles filmed for the 06 Winter Tour. So it's going to be a lot of narration by me over battle boards and the odd bit of highlights and the odd full fight. So without further ado, let's see how the robots got to the final. The 2006 Winter Tour featured 18 machines battling it out over 3 qualifier shows held across the length and breadth of Britain. They're aiming to gather enough points to be in the top 12 on the leaderboard and thus gain a place in the finals at Folkestone. So, which metal-munching maniacs were strong enough to gain a place in the finals? Well, this is the story of qualifying. To Doncaster for round 1, and we know of at least 7 battles that kick-started the tour. No clips here, but wins for Danton Keir over recent 3rd place finishers in the UK Championship's Big Nipper, and newly crowned champion Turbulence over the Pip Squeak Mighty Mouse. In the Battle of the Flippers, it was Iron Ore 3 who came out on top against the Beast, while Nightmare proved to be just that for Tilly U2. Robot Wars legend Behemoth got the better of Ka-Pow, while 2-time Robot Wars Annihilator champion Canopener put the squeeze on Velociripper. Finally, in a battle between the genres of fantasy and sci-fi, it was Merlin who triumphed over UFO. Round 2 took the pots down to Portsmouth in a mouth-watering encounter between 2004 UK champion, the utterly terrifying Terahertz, and our new defending UK champion, the powerful flipper of Turbulence. This fight's so huge we just have to show you it in full with commentary, so hold on to your butts, let's head down to the arena. So it's a battle of the champions here in Portsmouth, and already Terahertz swinging that axe down on top of the flipper bot that's just claimed the UK Championship title, but Terahertz has been thrown over. Terahertz on the ropes already, they're up against the arena wall. Could the 2004 champion be out of the arena? No, they've managed to recover, but they're still stuck in that corner. A huge flip from Turbulence as both these machines, both these titans of the live event era go head to head here in the Winter Tour. You'll see Terahertz with that flailing axe and Turbulence with that new shiny gold flipper to show that they are the current UK champions, as both machines try and outmaneuver each other here. Terahertz stuck on the arena floor, but in comes Turbulence getting an axe load there from the machine from Oxford, as both machines manoeuvre and try to outpace each other, and Terahertz is thrown over. What a flip. Recovers. Terahertz now swinging that axe down. Backs away. Turbulence now looking to come in on the attack. Can they throw the Oxfordshire-based machine out of the arena? 2004 champions, 2005 runners-up. Swing and a miss from Terahertz. Swing and a miss again. Oh, Turbulence missed that flip, but that would have surely changed the game. And now Terahertz can come in swinging that axe. And Terahertz, I think, might have won this. Turbulence can't seem to move anymore. Are they immobilised? I think they are. I think Turbulence has been knocked out by the former champ, who hits the pit release tyre on the arena wall, and that means you can see there in the corner of the arena, that hole opening up, and I think the immobilised Turbulence is about to be shunted down into the pit, and it's going to be massive points here at Portsmouth for Terahertz. After that electrifying encounter, Merlin rolled Hades around the arena, while UFO introduced Tilly to the new house robot Gripper. Nightmare took on Storm 2, and when the Robot Wars World Champion eventually got itself side-stranded, Nightmare decided to try and tip over said house robot, much to John Finley's irritation. Elsewhere, Behemoth picked up their second win of the qualifying campaign against Ka-Pow. Round 3 took us to Brum, and we are aware of only one fight that took place as part of the Winter Tour. If there were any more, let me know in the comments and I can always redo the video. But in that one fight that we are aware of, Iron Ore 3 took on Edgehog, with the latest incarnation of Iron Ore getting the job done, and that all-important win. So, your finalists are Beast, Behemoth, Iron Ore 3, Can Opener, Nightmare. 2005 UK and Winter Tour champions Chronic, Merlin, Ripper, Storm 2. 2004 UK and Winter Tour champions Terahertz, Tiberius, and current UK champions Turbulence. And this is how they line up in round 1, and goodness gracious me, what a lineup of fights we have here. And the first one is a repeat from round 2 of the qualifiers. It's Terahertz against Turbulence. It's the 2004 champion against the 2006 champion. Let's go straight to the arena and get this Winter Tour finals off and underway. So Terahertz won the first match between the two quite convincingly, and they're going to try and go for the repeat here as sparks have already flown off of the 2006 champions bucket, and they've gone for the pit release button early here, looking to get a quick KO on the 04 champ. Remember, they also finished as runners-up in 05, but it doesn't matter because Terahertz are out of the arena. Gone out of it. Turbulence get their revenge. Well, it was as simple as 1, 2, 3. The early axe attack there from Terahertz. 2 great shots to begin with. But they could not capitalise like they did in the qualifying rounds. Turbulence hit the pit release button, obviously opening up another option, but then they got in underneath the 2004 champion, threw them into the corner, and the axe bot couldn't recover in time to stop the out of the arena flip. So Turbulence winning that blockbuster opening encounter. Next up is Beast versus Behemoth, but we unfortunately don't have any footage of this fight, but I can tell you that it was Behemoth picking up the win. Merlin against Nightmare next up, and we do have some footage of that one. Here is the highlighted footage. Merlin with some early flips on Nightmare, these two machines owned by the same team, battling it out, and in the end Merlin throwing Nightmare out of the arena. Storm 2 versus Tiberius also ended in favour of the Robot Wars World Champion. We have no footage of that fight either. No footage of Iron Ore 3 beating Can Opener. And also no footage of defending Winter Tour champions Chronic taking on Ripper, with Ripper coming out the victor there. So on to round 2, and Iron Ore 3 taking on the UK champions Turbulence. Here's a quick clip for you. Turbulence getting the flip in on Iron Ore, who recovered, but ultimately it was Iron Ore 3 who came out on top in that encounter. No footage of Behemoth taking on Storm 2, but I can tell you that Behemoth, Robot Wars legend, beat Robot Wars world champion Storm 2 there. And in the final quarterfinal fight, it was between Ripper and Merlin, and we do have a couple of highlights there. So Merlin in underneath Ripper early on here, getting the flip, Ripper trying to self-right, but it was mostly that for most of the fight, the sort of low cuboid shaped robot getting underneath the yellow and green flipper. Of course, John Finley runs the events, and after a tangle there, where Merlin almost went out the arena, it was Ripper who found themselves out of the arena. So with 3 machines moving on, we needed one of our defeated machines to rejoin the competition for our semi-finals. So it's time for our losers melee. Ripper, Storm 2 and Turbulence, and it is a fight we have in all its glorious destruction. So let's head down to the arena to watch the losers melee.
Level cheers. Stand by. Audience, are you ready? Let's go then! 3, 2, 1, action!
It's time for a triple threat of destruction here in the Winter Tour. It's 2006 UK champions Turbulence, 3rd world champion Storm 2, and the very reliable Ripper, whose John Finley, of course, I've already said, runs the events. So it's a heavyweight 3-way here. And right now, I can't really see what's happening. Can you, audience? Oh, the floor flipper's just fired on Turbulence, who's moving away here, looking for a robot to pick on. But right now, it's the UK champions who are being picked on and are falling into the pit. Turbulence, they're trying to get out of the pit, but they can't. And I think the UK champions have fallen here. Meanwhile, Storm 2 and Ripper clash in the background, and that's a huge slam there onto the angle grinder. You can see the spark shooting from the side of the arena. Constantly upgrading here at Roaming Robots. This arena has gone from strength to strength over the last few years. Storm 2 now looking to position itself against that wedge of Ripper. Got to avoid the floor flipper. One of our many hazards in this arena, one of which, the other one, Turbulence has fallen into, which was the Pit of Oblivion. Now, it's difficult to see through this scratched and grazed polycarbonate, but we can see Storm 2 ramming into Ripper there, and really dominating and bossing this fight here. Sparks fly as the 2 titanium wedges smash together. Storm 2 is now upside down. It's got to use that lifter to try and self-right, but they're being shoved towards the pit here, and could they be posted like a letter between Turbulence and the pit edge? Can they self-right and escape? They have. Sensational stuff here from the world champions, who have now retreated away and can get a side-on slam on Ripper. Both of these machines, veterans of the Robot Wars TV show. Both of them putting all of their power and energy into this losers melee to get through to the final 4. And right now, all the action is in that far corner, and the camera is trying to see it, and we can't get closer to see it right now. All we can see is the scratched polycarb from battles past. There was a flip there. Now Storm 2 in underneath, and slams Ripper into the arena wall. That'll be gaining them points if it does go to the judges. Storm 2 ramming Ripper around the arena, scoring aggression and control and style points, if I do say so myself. And the timer, you can hear from the announcer, is the end of the fight. And it's going to go to the judges. Let's have a look at the action of that phenomenal 3-way. Turbulence, early flip on Ripper, who self-righted. with ease. And then here came the first big moment of the match. Storm 2 onto Ripper, throwing Turbulence, the defending UK champions. They're not going to pick up the double in 2006, as they tried as they might to escape the yawning mass of the pit. They were unable to, and then Storm 2 set about attacking Ripper. Huge slam there. And then they pushed Ripper into Turbulence, who was in the pit. Ripper, a very big machine, didn't fit down that hole. Then a big turning point in the match. Storm 2 flipped upside down. We know that negates the wedge of this Rambot, and they really tried to self-right here. But then they drove straight up the wedge of Ripper and were postage stamp pushed into the pit. Now, will the judges believe that counts as a pitting, or will they count Storm 2 as escaping the pit and fighting on? That, to me, is where this fight could be won or lost. They did escape, but were they counted as immobile in that pit? Self-righted by Ripper, and the fight ultimately did continue, and it was Storm 2 all the way here in this bout, ramming Ripper into the arena wall, and then again into the arena wall. A couple of sparks flying off the two wedges there. So the losers melee goes to a judge's decision, and it is Storm 2 being reinserted back into the competition. So your semi-finals look like this. Our first fight, Iron Ore 3 against Merlin. We have no footage of that fight, unfortunately, but it is Iron Ore 3 stamping their ticket into the Winter Tour final. And in semi-final 2, it's a repeat of an earlier fight in the competition. It's Behemoth against Storm 2, and once again, Behemoth gets the better of Storm 2, progressing to the 2006 Winter Tour final. But before that final between Iron Ore 3 and Behemoth, it's time for the third place playoff. We have it in full, so here it is, Merlin against Storm 2. The battle for the wooden spoon begins here between Storm 2 and Merlin. Both of these machines very similar looking. Storm 2 with the sort of lifting device, Merlin with the more traditional flipper, and already Merlin underneath, but now Storm 2 underneath Merlin. There's going to be lots of shoving and pushing and flipping and tipping in this third place playoff. Both of these machines looking to get that little bit of honour, that third place in the Winter Tour. As both machines now move across the arena looking for a bit of an advantage or a bit of pressure. Both these machines have got in underneath each other at various points, and right now Merlin's thrown Storm 2, hits the floor flipper and goes dancing and bouncing across the arena floor, and now Storm 2 has managed to self-right and has now back with its wedge facing the correct way, but has been thrown over again and onto the floor flipper once again. Storm 2 round the side, trying to get that shove on Merlin into the pit. But right now, it's struggling to beat that wedge, and Merlin just keeps throwing Storm 2 onto the floor flipper. It's gaining them points in the judges' eyes if the fight goes the full 3 minutes. Right now, Storm 2 the more manoeuvrable, Storm 2 the more active, but Merlin just seems tenacious with a tactic, although they have been shoved into the arena corner there and slammed across the arena floor by the machine that became third world champion not that long ago, was runner-up in 2006 in the UK Championships just past. We just finished covering it on this channel, and they'll be disappointed not to make the final of the Winter Tour, but a third place would be very nice for them here. They've picked up some points there as Merlin comes in on the side and throws Storm 2 and could have got them beached on the arena wall. They were unable to, as Storm 2 manoeuvres away and is thrown once again by Merlin, who has once again got on the ascendancy of this fight and has Storm 2 rocking and rolling and trying to self-right. And Storm 2 now stuck against the arena wall, and they could be about to be thrown out of the arena here. They've managed to escape and come back in on the attack. Storm 2 have got to really put some work in now to win this fight, I feel, because they are being tossed and thrown around here by Merlin the Wizard, who is putting the wind up Storm 2, you might say. Oh, big fly there. That was like watching stunt racing, like a stunt ramp there. Storm 2 in underneath Merlin. That's a good slam there from Storm 2, but they've fallen foul of the arena flipper again. Not great driving, and heck, what is this fight? Is it Merlin versus Storm 2, or is it the arena flipper versus Storm 2? They've been flipped by it every single time in this fight, and it goes to the judges. So let's have a look at the highlights of that battle. Storm 2 in early on there. Then Merlin in underneath, throwing Storm 2. An even fight to start with, both of them getting attacks and slams and flips. Then this was the first of what became a regular occurrence in this fight. Merlin flipping Storm 2 over, who then went and got flipped by the floor flipper. Was it a strategy to try and self-right? Or was it just great tactical driving from Merlin? I think it's the latter, as Storm 2 was sent careening and bouncing around. This was the start of a good moment here for Storm 2 in this fight. Slammed into the corner went Merlin, and then Storm 2 with one of its classic long drives across the arena, sending Merlin skittering and scattering, and they managed to pick them up again and slam them into the arena wall. But my fear when it comes to the judge's decision in this fight is that Storm 2 did not do that often enough, and far too often were they on the end of Merlin's flipper, like right there, when they were thrown and could have been stacked against the arena wall. Another moment here where Merlin managed to flip and push Storm 2. Maybe if they got them a bit close to the arena wall, they could have thrown them over and out. Storm 2 was struggling to self-right, and this was probably the closest moment we got to an out of the arena flip. Storm 2 stacked on the arena wall, and Merlin went for the coup de grace, the out of the arena flip, and they just didn't get it quite right, and Storm 2 managed to recover and escape. But I don't think Merlin has much to worry about. Here's another flip. So many flips in this third place playoff. Merlin really did control the fight. Storm 2 using the floor flipper like a speed ramp there. Good style to self-right, but ultimately I think too few of these good slams from Storm 2. I've counted about 3 or 4 in this fight compared to a multitude of Merlin flips and floor flipper flips on Storm 2. Really has them on the back foot. Stranger things have happened in robot combat, but I think it's safe for me to say that I think Merlin will be picking up the third place here. And that's how they ended, with Merlin, I think, on top. So the judges have decided that it is Merlin who picks up the third place, and deservedly so. They bossed that fight. Now it's time for the Winter Tour Grand Final. Robot Wars legend Behemoth takes on Iron Ore 3. Let's go down to the arena for this all-important battle.
Roboteers, stand by then for the grand final of the Heavyweights 2006 Winter Tour. Audience, are you ready? Let's go then! 3, 2, 1.
So in a weird twist of fate, we've not actually seen any of these two machines journey to the final, but we can be sure they both deserved it. Iron Ore 3, the classic wedge-shaped robot, had to pull out the 2006 Annihilator, went out in the heats of the 2006 championships. Behemoth only got through to the second round before being eliminated themselves, so both have got a point to prove in this Winter Tour final, and Behemoth on top already with that bucket scoop, flipping Iron Ore up and bossing that wet yellow wedge around the arena early on here. Iron Ore 3 hits the pit release button and will now look to recover, and there's the 4 flipper firing on Behemoth. They were not expecting that, but now they're back in underneath Iron Ore 3, who's self-rise. This is a fast, frenetic Winter Tour final so far. Iron Ore 3 wedged against the arena wall. It will only take 1 or 2 flips to seal this fight, but currently Behemoth are bossing it right now. They've got Iron Ore 3 trapped in the corner. Iron Ore 3 struggling to escape, but they've turned it round. Can they throw Behemoth out of the arena? No, they cannot. They escape to fight another day, both machines. Both trying to get in for the next crucial attack. The attack that could win them the Winter Tour. And Behemoth almost out of the arena. That was almost a crazy flip from Iron Ore from well inside the arena. Behemoth almost bounced down, but they're back now on top, pushing Iron Ore towards that pit. But Iron Ore managed to escape and drive back to the top end of the arena. But they're not any safer. They've been thrown against the arena wall, trying to self-right, but Behemoth are in there, just smothering this yellow cheese wedge design with the awful lurid grin. As both machines now dance the do-si-do, and Iron Ore's thrown onto its back, and the floor flipper fires, and Iron Ore pirouettes and turns and flips like an Olympic gymnast. Both machines now keep fighting. Iron Ore rolled over again and now pushed over towards the far corner where this camera sits. Behemoth now shunting Iron Ore into the far corner. Both machines in the corner. Iron Ore, are they stuck? Are they alive? Are they okay? Are Behemoth the Winter Tour champions? Iron Ore have self-righted, but have perched themselves perfectly in the corner. And I think Behemoth, I think that's a victory spin. I think Behemoth are your 2006 Winter Tour champions. Iron Ore stuck against the arena wall and immobilised. Well, let's have a look at the highlights of that fast and frenetic Winter Tour final. Behemoth straight away on the attack, rolling Iron Ore around the arena with that bucket scoop. It just felt to me that Iron Ore never really got to the hang of this fight, never really got to grips with Behemoth in a sustained way. Behemoth used that scoop to great advantage, shunting and shoving Iron Ore around the arena. The floor flipper did surprise them in that moment. But look, straight away Behemoth recovered, in on the attack, rolling Iron Ore, who's trying to self-right, and it's almost the power in that Iron Ore flipper was almost too much for the robot to handle. It was bouncing around and not recovering quick enough. Look, another shunt into the arena wall. That tactic Behemoth had of sort of lifting the front of Iron Ore with the scoop and shunting Iron Ore across, that was a huge moment. That bounce, if that bounce was any higher, Behemoth were gone. That was like the one Iron Ore moment in the fight, because look, we're straight back to Behemoth domination. as they're once again pushed in the corner. And look, Iron Ore will self-right here, and they're straight back in. Behemoth are straight back in, using the speed and power. I just think other than that flip and the floor flipper, Behemoth were never really too fussed. This was a fantastic moment. Flipped onto the floor flipper, and it's like a double self-right. The floor flipper and Iron Ore's flipper acting in tandem to throw the bot into the air. And look, once again, honestly, I could be showing you the same clip again and again, and you'd probably believe me. But we're not. We're using different clips. But just every time, Behemoth was on top in this final. Phenomenal from Behemoth. And this was the winning moment. They shunted the upside down Iron Ore into the corner, and then Iron Ore self-righted like that and got stuck. And look, Behemoth just shoves them into that corner, makes sure they're nice and stuck and can't use the flipper to bounce themselves away. I think the CO2 had ebbed and flowed out of the machine mostly by that point. And Behemoth becomes the 2006 Winter Tour champions. Congratulations to Behemoth, the 2006 Winter Tour champions. It couldn't have happened to a more legendary team. That's all we have now for the 2006 UK Championships. It's all done, finished, finito. I will be back at some point with the 2007 Fighting Robots UK Championship, hopefully sometime next year. Another fantastic year of robot combat. Thank you so much for sticking around week to week for this Goliath series. I'll see you all around. Thank you so much. Good night.